So last week we talked until about submit to one another, right? The front part we talked some like be filled with spirit and also submit to one another. So today I will be talking about the problem of self-centeredness. Okay, like some small activity. Let's start with why. Why do you think self-centeredness happen in marriage?
Before you continue, maybe just I interrupt a bit.
Yeah, sure.
Can you go back to the filled with the spirit?
Oh, wait. This one?
Yeah.
All right.
Just to share a little bit about a bit more practical about what this filled with the spirit is so that you can think about it on a daily life, so that you have an idea what is it you're trying to achieve to be filled with the spirit. Very often this term filled with the spirit can become too how to say a little bit too theoretical but not practical. Now actually what I'm going to share with you is actually from the Bible, and I'm not using my own illustration. In the Bible, they always put together filled with the spirit, big S, and then filled with the spirit, small s. Okay. Now, the spirit small s that we are talking about is alcohol. Okay, that means when you fill with the spirit, the small s, then you're getting yourself filled with alcohol. That means you drink a lot of alcohol. Now, and in few places it uses this illustration. Do not be filled with the small spirit, but be filled with the Holy Spirit. So he's using this illustration to help us to see the two, where there's similarity between the two and of how it works, but yet we should not be filled with the small spirit. So we should not be filled with alcohol. Now, to help us understand, then we want to look at how do we get filled with the small spirit. That's why I thought about it, and I think worthwhile for us to look into this. Because the practical aspect of being filled with the spirit, with alcohol, with liquor, is similar to the practical action of being filled with the Holy Spirit. And yet here, QQ, maybe you have to switch off your mic. Occasionally, very loud, the noise from your side. Suddenly,
sorry.
very loud. Very much better. So when you're not talking, that's automatically switch off lah. Okay. So let us look at how a person get filled with the alcohol. First, recognize. Okay, it's a choice. A choice to allow yourself to be influenced, or a choice to get attracted to it. So there are many ways you will get yourself into a situation you end up being filled with alcohol and then get drunk. Okay, so basically to be filled with spirit, actually it means you get drunk. Now realize how a person get into a situation that get drunk. Right? Normally it is not a very obvious choice. Very often it's peer influence or addiction. Correct? Peer influence or addiction. So this is something we have to be very careful about. Put yourself into a situation where your peer influence do not get drunk with alcohol, and in the same way, put yourself in a situation by peer influence that will get you to be filled with the Spirit. We always recognize that, we always need to recognize that this is always the case. The choices we make to put ourselves in what kind of situation will lead to certain kind of consequence. That's why if you mix with people that like to drink, what do you think will happen? Likely you're going to get drunk because they like to drink. And you put yourself in a situation where it becomes very easy, very relaxed, very easy to succumb to drinking without being consciously aware of what you're doing. Now, same thing. To end up not being filled with the Spirit is also the same thing. When you are not filled with the Spirit, basically you're filled with something else. And when you're filled with something else, bear in mind, very often it's because of the situation you put yourself in. It's a choice that you make to put yourself into that kind of situation which distracts you from being filled with the Spirit, Holy Spirit, which is the power. Now, last week, 2 weeks ago, we already talked being filled with the Holy Spirit. Basically, it means you focus on listening to what God has to say, to study God's word so that you remember the design and the principles that God has put in place to govern the world. So basically, it's filling your heart and mind with those things. Okay? So remember, it is the circumstances we put ourselves in. And if we put ourselves in those circumstances, it starts with peer influence. Then what happens? You get drunk. As more and more alcohol enter your system, the alcohol will influence your behavior. Correct? Same thing. If you are filled with the Spirit, the more and more you focus and dwell on God's principles, God's word, or in prayer, in focus on God, that will influence your behavior. Same thing. If there's no magic, you don't try to put it as magic. Okay? So it's the duration. You see, that's why, same with being filled with alcohol, being filled and get drunk. It's the duration and the amount that you drink. If you drink a little bit, you're not going to be filled with the small Spirit until you get drunk. That's not being filled. Filled is full. That's why the idea is full. You keep drinking until you are full. Right? So to fill with the Spirit is the amount that you drink. To fill with, whether it's a big Spirit or the small Spirit, is the amount that you drink. Which is why 2 weeks ago, I also talked about the two animals in the same cage. Which animal will win? I put a lion and a tiger. The one that you feed. In other words, the amount that you fill. What is it that you fill yourself with? The choices that you make, the circumstances that you put yourself in to allow yourself to dwell and to be filled with those things will determine the outcome of your behavior. Because it will determine what will mainly influence you. And the decisions that you make and the behavior that you will live out. Which is why very often I'm always very concerned when especially in a career in work, because career in work puts you in a circumstance 8 hours a day at least, and in today's working condition, it's even more than 8 hours a day. It sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and then 5 days a week or 6 days a week. So you're looking at, can you imagine the kind of circumstances that you put yourself in under constant brainwash, under constant influence? For what? 8 times, even if I put at 8 times 6 days or 5.5 days, right? It is 52 days, 50 over hours a week. And in a month, you're looking at 200 over hours. You're 200 over hours thinking about what? Thinking about making money? Then what controls your behavior? Money. Okay, so this is where my concern is always is. That's why I always also my concern always in YMAT is always I keep asking YMAT people, you come back, enter your study group. Why? So that at least once a week there is 2 hours of putting yourself into a group which allow yourself to be influenced by a correct thinking. But of course, it's more than 2 hours. Why? Because you have to prepare. You have to read the book, and you have to prepare the slides if you are leading the class. Which is why I always encourage all the participants to lead class. And when you lead class, you are easily putting in 4, 6 hours or 8 hours, some even up to 10 hours in that week. Because you read the chapter 2, 3 times, and you have to prepare slides, and that means you have to summarize and think about the words you want to put on the slide, and blah 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 blah. And then when you're talking, you are repeating the principles again by sharing it, by telling it to the rest of the group members. So for that week that you are leading the class, can you imagine you are putting in 7, 8 to 10 hours? That's why for me, I keep saying, like for me, I don't mind doing either. And I'll be leading, despite the fact that I'm no longer leading the class per se, I still prepare every single lesson chapter. Why? Because I am I'm purposefully putting myself under the influence. I'm putting myself to be filled with the principles of the book study. And that's why I choose all these kind of books that have very good foundation. That's why be filled. So this is a very important, and this is the power. And it is very logical, yeah. It's very logical. It's very practical. There's no magic. It's not like I want to expect that somehow this supernatural power and I'm not saying the supernatural power doesn't exist. But 80-90% of the time, it is not supernatural because this principle in itself is ordained by God. It is put there by God and it works. So why would God want to resort to supernatural when this principle is already put in place that is effective? If we don't comply with it, then the principles don't work within your life and nothing will happen. Okay? So this is something added that I thought about after the class in 2 weeks ago. Okay, about being filled. Any question about this? I hope what I'm explaining a little bit more practical. Okay, yeah. The illustration of the more alcohol you drink, the more that alcohol will influence your behavior, and so after that you become very stupid and foolish, right? Yeah. So same thing here. Okay. Yeah. Any other comment or thoughts? Thanks, Atlas, for the input, for the feedback. Yeah. If not, then QQ, I will pass it back to you to continue.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very good reminder and also much more good explanation. All right then. All right. Back to this section. All right, the problem of self-centeredness. Come on, let's start with why. Why self-centeredness happen? Why is it happen in most of the marriage? And like small activity, think. Hello, can everyone hear me? Crap. Got
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
I can hear.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
You ask why in married people self-centered.
Hello? Wait, I cannot hear you, Jian Wei.
You ask why a lot of people in married is self-centered.
Yes.
Because I think we used to many years alone then of course we'll think of ourselves no man. At first before married So it's like some people go into marriage then not so fast will like not natural for you to think for other person, but think for yourself is like natural. When you're born, then you know when you're hungry, you look for food for yourself. But
Yeah.
other people hungry, if you're not being learned, then you won't like, or you find food for people. Of course, you find for yourself. It's like self nature. This is what I thought lah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Jian Wei thinks that it's kind of like human nature because we always think about ourselves first. We are used to think about ourselves. Others, eh? Okay. So if no one has any answer, if no one answer, then I'll go to next one. Okay. See, the thing about self-centeredness is that is always a mortal enemy. It's always an enemy in every marriage because it will always have a havoc-wrecking problem. It will always be a sort of like a marriage crisis in self-centeredness, and this problem will always arise in any marriage. But then again, if you don't find ways to deal with it, it will soon become a cancer. And when the cancer spread, it will cause your whole marriage problems. And in the Paul in the Bible, Paul always listed that self-centeredness is in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this 5 category, which is impatience, and they are always irritability. They lack of graciousness and kindness in speech, and most of the time they always like to they always have this tendency to holding past injuries and then hurt against other people. And the last one is envious brooding on the better situation of others, which in other words is envy. Self-centeredness people, they always envy of other people. They always see other people. Wow, why they are like that? Wow, why they so good at this? Why they so why are they like this, or why are they like that? Yep. And the problem with this self-centeredness is that it's very character how it always makes the person blind on your own one. You always don't realize that you are self-centeredness, but on the other hand, you will always be hypersensitive, offended, and angered by other people. You are not sensitive towards yourself. But you are sensitive to other people. And what happened when self-centeredness husband and wife, self-centeredness husband and self-centeredness wife, what happened when both together? It will always cause a bit of self-pity, anger, and despair in any marriage, in the marriage, and this relationship will always get eaten away until nothing. you always you always play until this way one. That relationship will always get eaten away because you are not sensitive towards yourself. You're always sensitive to other people. And what about your wife? Your wife also same issue. If she is also self-centeredness, she also always sensitive towards her husband, but not sensitive towards herself. So if both clash, he centered out, divorce will happen. No? And the thing is that in order to have a marriage that sings, it requires three things, which is one, spirit-created ability to serve. Second, you have to take yourself out of the center and put the needs of others ahead of your own in order to have a marriage that sings. Is anyone don't understand? Or anyone don't understand the previous few slides? Okay, if not, then I will keep going. So then comes, understand? Alright, good. Okay, then comes to this part. The deep happiness that marriage can bring then lies on the far side of sacrificial service in the power of spirit. That is, you only discover your own happiness after each of you has put the happiness of your spouse ahead of your own in a sustained way. Right, in a sustained way, not only just go all out. Because hey, we are in the end is still human. We will have the time that we will be a bit of tired. But then again, when you it's a human, when we tired, we will always have to find ways to make sure that we recharge ourselves and then get back on again, right? Okay. So I remember that when I went to one of the one of the relationship talk in one of the church with last time with friends, they say that treat the way you want it to be treated. That means that if you want them to treat you like this, you have to treat them back like the way you want it to be treated. Right? But there's this one book, I forgotten what book. It talks about milkshake theory. Milkshake theory. I don't know if you still remember or not. I think it's CK he present one, the milkshake theory. So instead of treat the way you want it to be treated, why not treat the way they want to be treated? So far so good?
Yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah. Oops. Okay. So the ability to deny your own rights to serve and put the good of the whole over your own is not instinctive, and indeed it's unnatural. Like Jianwei said, because it really is not it's not natural. We are too used to taking care of ourselves, so we put ourselves before other people. But it's the very foundation of a marriage. It's in the very foundation, because I think this is an example of when a soldier joining a military and submit to the officer. You see, when the soldiers joining the military, they have to give up a lot of things, right? For example, they have to give up the way they eat, the things they want to eat. They have to give up the time on when they are going to eat. Then they even have to give up on when they can take holiday. Heck, even they have to lose control of their own schedule. Everything have to go through the officer. You know, because when the officer said, okay, this you have to be in the front group, you have to be in the frontal group, you have to fight the war, or you have to be in the scout group, you have to scout the area. You know, you have no choice. You have to submit and then say yes, and then go according to what officer command you to do. It's also because you have to put others ahead. You have to think others ahead. You have to make sure that you do your job well. You have to make sure that they can survive. You have to make sure that we can win the war by not thinking about myself first, but I have to think about other people. Because if you always think about yourself, then if you join military, the officer will kick you out. He say you cannot be in this military. You should always think about yourself, right? Okay. So far so good. Okay.
Actually, it's like our work also, ma.
Yeah.
If you cannot,
it's similar.
then they will kick you, lor. If you don't want to change, they will change you, lor. That's it. My boss just told me this one just now. Okay.
Ayo.
Anyway, move on.
All right. Okay, next one. The wounds we carry. So, okay, wait. Okay, so one of the issue that why self-centeredness happen is because of the wounds we carry. And when I talk about wounds, the wounds we carry, it's not about you get abused, you get hit by abusing parents. Not that wounds, but it's more on the verbally abuse and widespread experience of cold, because not just only by parents but also by your ex, by your former dating partner, that you realize that, if I do like this again, then maybe my next partner will don't want me again. That sort of, we have that sort of wounds, we have that sort of history that we don't want to repeat the same mistake again. And because in the end, humans, we are all humans. We cannot. We will always have a flaw. We are not superhuman. We are not God. Because humans have flaws, and some of the part we may not need, or some of the part we may accidentally, fail on them, and that's why wounds happen. And the thing is that the woundedness is. I think it's mine one. I think it's mine because I'm actually sitting outside. I'm not in my room.
I can hear Liz sound.
Is it?
So. But by the way, I'll give you this session got record or no? Not going to record already.
Got. I got record.
Okay, thank you.
I got record. Okay, so but the thing about woundedness is that it is compounded. This word compound is compounded self-doubt and guilt, resentment, and disillusionment. Right? It's not just like simple stack. It's always compound. This woundedness. That means that like this slide, like this graph, how compound works. I think most of you should know, right? How compounding works.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And because of it, the wounds that we carry, it will always make us self-absorbed. That's why it's self-centeredness. And Like just
Can you
like the
go
free.
back a slide? Sorry.
All right.
You mean the self-centeredness can come from the self-doubt and guilt, is it?
Yep. Yep. No, it's not. It's not just. It's also a self doubt and you because sometimes it's just that you doubt about yourself.
What is
You
resentment
keep
and
doubting yourself.
disillusionment? What's that?
Yeah, say for.
Check dictionary. No, check dictionary.
Uh,
Right.
yeah.
Easy and it.
Okay, let me come in. Let me come in. This is a tough. This is a tough topic. Okay, first thing, clarify. My mic, no problem. The sound doesn't come from my mic. I'm using headset. So I'm using headset with extended microphone. So very little noise one. Okay, I'm going to go a little deeper about self-centeredness and the wound. Now, self-centeredness. What does self-centeredness mean? There are two. Self-centeredness means putting myself at the center. That's why it's called self-centeredness. Putting myself at the center. Okay? So now think about it. When we are putting myself at the center means we are the center of the universe. Putting myself as the center of my universe. If I'm at the center of my universe, who is the God of my universe? Me. And this is the problem with human being. Okay. Now this problem actually arises from Genesis. If we see at the beginning, right? When God created Adam and Eve, they were not self-centered. They don't think about self. They were focused on what? When God created Adam and Eve, straight away God brought Adam to the animals and then asked Adam, you name the animals, and then that will be it. So God was already involving Adam in his creation by giving him responsibilities. So when you are given responsibilities, what are you? You're focused on others. You're not focused on self. Your attention is focused on others. Until Satan came and go and tell Adam and Eve, say what? Hey, you will be like God. What does that mean? You can be like God. In other words, you can be like God and be the God of your own universe, which means what? You can be at the center of your own universe. So suddenly, human being, we all have this idea, the idea of wanting to be at the center of our own universe. But the problem basically lies with this. We are not capable. Can you imagine? Would you put a child to be the CEO of a company? Can you imagine next time, for all of you, you have you're running your own company, right? And then you have a family, and then you have a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 18 years old. And then they come to you and say, the child come to you and say, hey, Daddy, Mommy, I want to sit on your position, to be the center, to be the big boss of your company. Okay? What do you think you will say as the father or the mother? Xiao Lu. But if the child insists and want to be at the center, what do you think will happen to the child? If you give the child the position of a CEO of the company, the child will surely 撞板, and the child will make a lot of mistakes and then realize that running the company is so much more difficult and then feel very insecure. And when they feel very insecure, if the child's ego is strong and still want to be at the center, the child will simply shoot. The child will feel self-doubt, guilt, resentment, and disillusionment. So this is what it means. All this will create in us the problem. But the problem lies with our desire to be at the center of our own universe when we do not have the capability yet. And you see this happening to a lot of big companies. Right? The child thinks that the father is outdated. The child thinks that the father don't know how to think. The child thinks that the child can do better than the father. Not realizing that the father has 30, 40, 50 years experience and he has only ideas and ideology, not experience. Yet, the child can think that they are capable. And this is how we think. This is what it means by self-centeredness. Self-centeredness is when we have this desire to put ourselves at the center of our universe, to be the God of our own universe. And it's there. And we wish for it unless we come to point we realize that no, if I put myself at the center of my own universe, I'm going to destroy my universe because I do not yet have the capability. And which is happening to the world today. If you look at it, look at the world today. The human being who want to be at the center of this universe that they live, meaning they want to be the God, they want to play God, they want to have full control of the world that they live in, now is destroying the world. You look at the power struggle right now. The power struggle comes from where? Initiated by one person, usually. Okay? The one who holds the highest power. Now, this is what self-centeredness means. Self-centeredness means you putting yourself at the center. Center of what? Center of the universe that you know. So every one of us have our own universe, have our own world. If we have our own world in the life we live, in the mindset that we build, in the worldview that we build inside our head. And we want to be at the center. We want to take control of it. We want to be God of it until we mess up. And this idea we're going to bring into our marriage. Now, of course, on top of that, bear in mind, when we are growing up, right, our parents and our environment is not perfect. So it hurts us. That's why these wounds we carry. But the wound we carry did not create the self-centeredness. No, the self-centeredness is already there. We all have the desire to want to put ourselves as the center of the universe that we have. But in the woundedness, can you imagine a person who has this ego, who has this desire to be at the center, to be the master of our own universe, but yet we are wounded, we are hurt? How would a wounded king who want to retain his position and king behave? Imagine a king of a kingdom. He is wounded, but yet he don't want to release. He wants to still be seen and still have control over his kingdom and still want to exert power despite the fact that he's wounded, and in his woundedness he doesn't have the strength to manage his kingdom. So what do you think he will do? So in his woundedness, he will react, retaliate. He will do a lot. He will exert a lot of self-centered action. Action that try to hide, right? Action that try to hide the weakness. and yet keep portraying the strength, and in portraying the strength, very often bring about or leave out the harshness, the lack of sympathy, lack of understanding. Well, these are all the different forms that we hide driven by the self-centeredness. But bear in mind, we can deny our self-centeredness. We can. Later, we will probably come to it. But we need to recognize the self-centeredness. We need to recognize our desire to put ourselves at the center of the universe. Because if we don't recognize the desire to put ourselves at the center of the universe, then we won't know how to step down from that position. That's why this is very important for us to understand. And this has to do with being filled with the Spirit as well. Okay? In being filled with the Spirit, we need to tackle our self-centeredness. Yes, William.
Sorry, I got some
Can.
questions.
Can. Please do. Thank you for interrupting me.
Sorry.
No. It's good.
Okay. Is it that we are born self-centered? You mean when we are born, we are already self-centered?
Yes. But where it comes from, I'm not sure. I cannot tell you. But bear in mind, we are also born under the environment. Now, you remember inherited? We inherit from our father. Now the genetic study have already shown. Okay? Already shown. You are inheriting some things from your generations before you, and now you are inheriting a little bit extra from your father. And your child will inherit all those before you and something extra from you as well. So the inherited, what we inherited from our past generations, that means it keep passing on down little by little and accumulate. Every generation accumulate. But the earlier we recognize the self-centeredness that we have inherited, then the quicker we are able. You see, once we recognize this inheritance that we have inside us, right? Then the quicker we can, let's say, suppress it or put it under control, take control of it. Now, the other reason why the self-centeredness becomes very real is this. Not only do we inherit some form of self-centeredness inside us, but we are born into a self-centered environment. Correct? Look around us. Can we say our family environment is not self-centered? No. I cannot say my father is not self-centered. I cannot say my mother is not self-centered. Right? Of course, the degree of self-centeredness, some self-centeredness to become so, it comes out very, very harsh, very, 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 maybe it's got to do with the woundedness. So when when a person self-centered, the wounded, the level of wound and the level in which the wound aggravate the self-centeredness will determine the behavior that comes up. So yes, we inherit. Why? Because we inherit our father's spirit and our father's spirit and our father's spirit and go all the way to Adam and Eve. And it's been proven now today. A lot of genetic study, they already say it. Does that answer your question, William?
Yeah. Wait, Isa got something.
Sir,
Yes,
can I
please.
put it? Yeah, can I put it in this way? Because when God firstly created Adam and Eve, they have no sin. So that time, the love of beauty is worldliness. It's about worldliness. It's not about self. So but after they have consumed the forbidden fruits, and then they started to have sin. and they started to have those uh the not right thinking and all that. That's why they started to be selfish. As in, for example, they okay, Adam attracted get attracted by Eve because of her gorgeous rather than
Uh,
the cleverness.
no. Attraction, nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Self-centeredness, you see, being attracted doesn't mean you're self-centered. But being attracted and wanting something for yourself, and you go and take the power to go and claim it for yourself as though you are the master of the universe, which involves you claiming what is rightfully, in inverted commas, yours. Now, that is self-centeredness. Enjoying and appreciating beauty is not self-centeredness. But once we see it and we want it, that is self-centeredness. That is the expression of self-centeredness. That's why if you read Genesis carefully, right? Adam and Eve was there. Satan planted the seed. You can be like God. And then if you look at what was said about what Adam and Eve think, Adam and Eve look and say it is desirable. Meaning Adam and Eve go and say, I want it. I claim it. I put God out of the picture, and now I decide as the center of my universe, as now I decide as the controller of my universe. I put myself in the center of my life and say, I want it. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So it's nothing to do with what is good or what is not good. It's got to do with I want it. You see, so you cannot blame Satan. Satan put the seed in front. Adam and Eve say, I want it. So to us, same thing. The day we are born, I want it. That's why as a child, you think about it, I want the other fellows' toys. I want what the other baby has.
Is it about desire?
Yeah, it's unrighteous desire. That means desire that means you act upon a desire that is not rightfully yours to claim. You want something that you should not have control over. You're not. You see, this is where the vicious cycle, that's where insecurity and identity crisis comes in. Think about it. If I put you as CEO of a company, very big, when you do not have the capability to run the company, initially very shocked, right? I put you, you sit there, wow, I'm the boss, man. But as the boss, all problems come to you for decision making, correct? And when they come to you with the problem and you cannot solve it, what do you think you will feel? You're going to enter identity crisis. You're going to find yourself insecure. And then you have to come to a point where you struggle. Should I want to continue to be the CEO? Wow, such position. Wow, I don't want to give up, man. I want. You see, you end up wanting the position which you are not capable of being. And when you have a position that you are not capable of fulfilling, you are going to be very insecure. And do you realize your identity now got problem? Are you the CEO? Are you not the CEO? You are the CEO by name, but you are not the CEO by capability. Can you see the struggle within? Your identity broken. Correct? So the person who don't give up will continue to feel the insecurity and continue to have the identity struggle. Does that make sense or not?
But sir, how do we know when it's capable and when it's not? Let's say if we are given a position, then how do we know, like, is it the right time to take or not?
This is where your humility comes in. Humility doesn't mean that, oh, I cannot. No. Humility means, okay, let me try. Try already, I know I cannot. I say I cannot. If I can, I say I can. But yet I say I cannot and I say I can got nothing to do with whether I'm better than other people or I'm poorer than other people. There's no comparison here. That's why life is not a comparison. You don't compare yourself. And yet, if we are self-centered and we put ourselves in a position of being something that I'm not able to, do you realize I will want to compare? I compare because I am insecure and I need the comparison to make myself feel better about my inadequacy. And when I have an inadequacy that I cannot accept, then I will compare. You see that or not?
Yeah.
That's why we end up comparing. Why? Because we don't want to admit our incapability. Right? Why we want to admit our incapability? Because we are self-centered. We put ourselves as the center of our throne. And I don't want to vacate that position as the center of our universe. If I vacate, then I won't have the problem. Right? But if I don't want to vacate, and yet I cannot perform, then can you see the struggle inside? Yeah.
Vacate is what?
Vacate means give up.
Oh, okay.
Imagine at the center of your life, there is a throne seat, your king seat. Seat for the king. Every one of our life, we have this seat, the chair there for the king one of my universe. I also have my own universe king. But I have always been in the habit. We all habitual because we have inherited it and we have been living it for so long, and we are also in an environment where everybody live it. So it's very, very easy for us to sit on the chair inside our own universe. So we have to recognize, hey, think about it. I ask one simple question. Anyone here, we are very happy with our life. We are very happy with the universe inside our universe, our world. How many of us can claim that? I'm very happy with everything that I have done in my life. Okay? None of us can say that. Which means that we have a problem. That's why in self-centeredness, we control our universe, which mess things up, which makes us feel insecure, and all that. And that's why we need to be filled with the Spirit. Filled with the Spirit means what? Recognize that, oh, I'm not capable to run my universe. That's why I turn to God. But why I turn to God? Very simple. God created everything, including my universe. So He has all the answers. So I fill myself with God and His principles. So that now, even though I may still be sitting on the seat, I know I'm not the king and I'm not the master, because I am actually letting go and submitting the control. To who? To God's principle. Not I rule, but let God rule. Because why? Because God is the one who created everything, all the universes. William said the desire to control things and people over things to get the desired results we want it to be, which we do not own the power to control. We want to take control that beyond our control. Exactly. Exactly. Because we want to be God. Small God lah, G-O-D. God of our universe. which is exactly what Genesis say. You will be like God. That means we all want to be like God by being God of our universe. And how do we do that? By putting ourselves at the center of our own universe. Self-centered. Okay, good. William, your words there, very good.
No, this one is Isa word.
Oh, very good, very good. Very good. This is very important. We all want, you think about it, you think about it. One of the things that the whole world pursue today is power and control, isn't it? And yet look at the mess the world is in. That is the outcome that display and shows the real capability of the real capability to control. Yet we want it, and yet we are creating this mess. We cannot. Does that mean that God don't want us to grow up? No. You see, that's a big difference. Take, for instance, same with the father who owns a CEO, who's the CEO of a company. Finally, the father goes through build, and sits on the chair. Even then, the father is not a perfect CEO and recognizes the difficulty and the struggle and the experience required in order to somewhat effective as a CEO. And when a child fails to recognize the experience required and think that he's capable, he wants the power. He wants to be given the power. He wants to be given the power that the father do not have power over. That means he wants to be given the power that the father cannot interfere with. Now, a wise father won't let him. A wise father that doesn't want to destroy the company won't let him. But the wise father will release little by little, and each step of the way, the father will want to make sure that the child have learned the lesson. But of course, we don't have such a father in our world, because the father need to be not only a good at controlling and releasing, but also good teacher. But then if we assume that there is such a father, isn't that what that father should do? If you later runs a CEO of a company, and you are a good father or a mother, and then your child, you want to hand over to your child will be eager to want to sit on the throne to exercise his power. But if you are a wise father and mother, would you not gradually and yet teach each step of the way so that the child learns, and only release as the child learns? Why? So that you won't destroy, you won't have the child be responsible for destroying what was built. Right? And once a child destroys what was built, bear in mind, it will create insecurity. Oh yeah, I'm useless. I guilt and self-doubt. Right? Okay, any question? Can see how it works, self-centeredness, and then how the wounds we still carry, how it aggravates it, how it increase the self-centeredness, the outcome of self-centeredness. The self-centeredness is already there. Okay. Question? Otherwise, if not, I'll pass back to QQ.
Okay, we are okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about confronting our self-centeredness. Okay. Okay. Let's go with a scenario lah. Huh? Okay. You decided that to get married because you feel an attraction to the other person, but then after a year or two, these three things will usually happen. First, you begin to find out that how selfish this wonderful person is. Your partner, how selfish your partner is. Then second, you discover that the wonderful person has been going through a similar experience that he or she begins to tell you how selfish you are. That means that your partner, he or she will also experience this. You also have to go through this experience and also find out that how experienced you yourself are. Okay, then third, through your acknowledgement in part, you concluded that your spouse selfishness is more problematic than your own. This is the third. You acknowledge it. You acknowledge that your spouse selfishness is more problematic than your own. Why? Because like in the previous slide, our own self-centeredness, we are always not sensitive toward ourselves. We are always sensitive toward other people. And your spouse will also come up with this third acknowledgement. Will come up with this third, which is she also acknowledged that your selfishness is more problematic than her. Does anyone understand? Okay. So now there are two paths that okay. So there are two paths to take. There are only two ways that can solve this problem. First is that you agree that your woundedness is more fundamental than your self-centeredness, and you determine that unless your spouse see the problem you have, and she will take care of your spouse will take care of you. That means that your woundedness is more important than your self-centeredness, and you wanted your partner to take care of you, to take care of this woundedness for you, right? But the thing is that if the same thing happened to your partner, if your partner also taking this same path, that means that he or she will also realize that the woundedness is more important than their own self-centeredness, and determine that if he or she can see the problem that your spouse has and help and take care of them, then what will happen? Eventually there will be like a bit of bickering here and there. You cannot tahan the habit she have or he have, and then ended up your partner also cannot tahan the habit that you have, and that's where sometimes there's this technique they call it ceasefire. It's called ceasefire. Ceasefire happen. That means that if you can tahan this bad habit, I will also tahan this bad habit. Tit for tat they call it. And then as the time goes by, the more problem came up, you also go through this ceasefire. Then what will happen? Your relationship will become more estranged. That means that your relationship become stretched even further. You will be the both of you will see less with each other, and then he will stop bothering you. You will stop bothering them. You stop bothering her, and no one changes for the other people. So after a few years down the road, what happens? It's like you are staying a stranger together. You're not staying as a husband or wife. or as a spouse with your spouse, but you're staying with a stranger, and when an annual family photo came out, you'll see that their kiss is always forced, for forcing kiss. They are not so passionate. That's the first buffer. So second one, instead of seeing the woundedness as a fundamental issue, as the important issue, you see that your own selfishness as a fundamental problem. You see your own selfishness is the most problem, and you try to treat it more seriously than you do your spouse. That means that instead of you will try to treat your own selfishness. I mean the wound is already there, right? We cannot heal it fully. So what is the next best thing? We will try to recognize that our own selfishness, our own bad habits, and we will try to salvage on that. We will try to change that bad habit, change that our selfishness, so that we can make the marriage go further, make the marriage even better, right? Okay, and it's always start with the one. It doesn't have to be. Wait. Okay, so and it only takes one to begin healing. It doesn't have to be two person do it together, or even none do it together, but it can start with one person, which is ourselves. Because in the end, eventually we can only change. We can begin to change ourselves rather than we try to change other people. And there will be times that when you are trying to develop yourself to be better, and that your partner will try to demotivate you, or because I believe that people will have a bit tendency of fighting against change. We humans don't like to change. We always like to stay in that area because hey, 舒服嘛, isn't it? So if change happen, then we always get a bit of frustrated But then again, if it's for the good, it's for the good side, well, have to go through right? Or in the other way is that they see the little changes in you, and also try to develop on themselves as well. So it's probably like aspire to inspire other people. So in this case, aspire yourself to inspire your spouse. Alright? Because without that one, how can it move on? How can it go beyond there? And if you can keep what's the word? If you can keep develop yourself even better, if you can keep develop yourself better and better and better, and then start concentrating on self-centeredness, you will always find that the happiness. You will always find that your marriage is getting better, and that's why those who stop concentrating on how unhappy they are, they will always find that their happiness is growing, because you stop on looking yourself how happy but instead you will try to you will find ways to help your spouse to be happy, to help your spouse to be better. And if your spouse can see that and also help you along the way, then you're both also happy, right? So far so good? Hello? Oh, okay. Oh, shit. Wait, let me see. Shit. Okay, questions. My slides, because of corrupted, my slides until here only. Crap. So I need your help, or is it okay, or do we stop here, or should we keep moving? Because my slide until here only, the file corrupted.
I can continue and finish it because not very far to the end already.
Yeah, lor. Yeah, I know it's not far to the end, but yeah, lor, my slide all corrupted. I until here only.
Never mind. Do you have anything do you remember what your slides continue to be at the end? If you don't, then never mind, I'll take over.
No, because I also try to salvage as much as possible already just now.
Okay, no worries. I will take over. I'll take over.
Oh yeah.
No problem. Don't worry. Don't
Okay.
don't stress yourself.
Okay. So I stop sharing.
Yeah.
All right then. Dun-dun.
Okay. Okay. I just want to backtrack a little bit to confronting our self-centeredness. Okay. So this is quite important for us. Very often it won't be easy for us to let go of our self-centeredness until we realize that we cannot go on alone. That means we cannot go on being the center of ourselves. Okay, because we don't have the capability to be centered to take care of ourselves. But very interestingly enough, I want to go back a bit. I want to show you this slide. Okay. You can see this page that I want to I'm sharing with you. This page, if I'm not mistaken, is written by C.S. Lewis. Okay, I'm going to read it first. One of the universal principles of life. This is important for us to recognize. One of the universal principles of life. Even in social life, you will never make a good impression on other people until you stop thinking about what sort of impression you are making. Even in literature and art, no man who bothers about originality will ever be original. Whereas if you simply try to tell the truth about caring about without caring twopence how often it has been told before, you will 9 times out of 10 become original without having noticed it. The principle run through life from top to bottom. Give up yourself and you will find your real life, your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. Nothing that you have not given away will really be yours. This is very interesting principle of life. The more you want to hold on to your center of your life, the more you struggle with your life and find that you cannot cope with life. Because the whole your whole universe, the world that you create now is on your shoulder, which you cannot carry. That's why once you want to be original, you are self-centered. I am original. I want to be original. You are so centered on yourself to the whole burden of originality becomes too heavy to carry, and you cannot be original. That's why a lot of people, you see themselves failing to achieve what they used to achieve at the beginning. At the beginning, they don't see themselves as capable, and they just pursue. They were not self-centered about what they were doing. They were just pursuing to accomplish whatever is before them. And you see them accomplishing. And when they are accomplishing, then they are given the position. Now the burden of the position that they try their hardest to put themselves at the center of that position, to be the power, to exercise the power of that position, the burden of that position that they are trying so hard to uphold become the problem that they cannot fulfill. That's why you have to let go the center and recognize that you cannot. None of us can. But yet, that's why when we let go of the center of our own life, we will find something in our life we can accomplish, and we will find ourselves achieving that wonderfully. Interesting enough, when we are less self-centered, we achieve more. When we are more self-centered, we achieve less. Why? When we are more self-centered, we are trying to hold our whole universe, and the burden of our universe that we are trying to hold and keeps us from achieving. When we let go the center, right, and leave it to God, and then once we let go the center, realize this: I am free to achieve what I want to achieve. I'm free to let me change the word. You shouldn't be the word achieve. I am free to go and do what I love to do, what I'm burdened to do. And when I'm free to do what I'm burdened to do without the sense of having to achieve my universe, then I will accomplish, because now I'm free to do what I love to do. And when I love to do, I found myself. That's why give up yourself and you will find your real self. Lose your life and you will save it. Nothing that you have not given away will really be yours. Once you give it away, you will find what is yours. But once you don't give it away, you find yourself being burdened by it, and you find that you have no control over it. And when you have no control, it's not yours anyway. This is a very wonderful thing to recognize. And with this, once you have recognized this is where I want to talk about confronting our self-centeredness. Then we must acknowledge, awake, aware, admit. We must first be aware that we are self-centered. All of us are. Admit it, and then commit to step down from the center. Right? And now we have reason. I just show you the motivation for stepping out of your center. Because once you step down from that center, right, you have a better chance to find yourself. Because now you step down from the center, right? Now you don't have the pressure, and you will find yourself not having the pressure to fulfill what is required of you. But now you have you can find the things that you love to do. Okay? So that's why you have to give up. Give up being concerned about your center. That's why one of the things you have to do is to don't be the center. That means don't expect other people to put you at their center as well. You see, once we put ourselves at the center, then we expect other people to submit to us as the center. Then, as a center, my center is more important than your center. You're my center. I want to control. I want control. Then my problem is more important than your problem. Because I want to make sure my universe is become better, and my problem need to be solved so that my universe become better. That's the burden of being self-centered. So when you step down from the center, okay, never mind. I give up being the center. I forgo my universe. I forgo as a center, then I forgo control of my universe. So what is your problem? Let me solve your problem. Let me solve so that your universe becomes better. And bear in mind, as husband and wife, more so you need to do that. Why? Because your spouse universe is your universe. Your spouse universe will have significant impact on your universe. And you don't have to be in control of your universe anymore, because your spouse universe has significant impact on your universe. When your spouse universe improve, you automatically will be impacted and your life will improve, because you're living together, and the husband and wife environment become so much better. That's why you have to acknowledge your self-centeredness, step down from the self-center. Then, when you step down as a self-center, now you are free. Look at the other person's problem. Okay? And then, that's why it only begins with one. You don't have to worry about two. But however, let me say this. However, two is always still faster than one. Right? Why do you want to take one when you can have two? Which is why, the other reason why, especially when planning to get married, I always encourage both the husband and wife should sit into class together. Don't you think it would be easier if the husband and wife attended class together and have common understanding of how to tackle certain things together? Of course. But that doesn't guarantee that both the husband and wife will have the same timing. Like what QQ say, sometimes one side kena, the other side self-centered, because very insecure, very defensive. So one side is already letting go, the other person cannot. So then remember, one is a big influence. Why? The one that starts takes one, and that begins the influence. And when the other party who have gone through the same class see the spouse doing it, it becomes much easier to influence for both spouses to work at it together. Okay? But it takes one to start it. Any question here so far?
Sir.
Yes.
The opposite of self-centered, is it outward mindset?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Inward mindset, you put yourself, that means you put yourself at the center of your focus. Outward mindset, you forget yourself as the center of your focus. You put yourself out of your center of the focus. So it's outward mindset.
Okay, means we have to be outward mindset.
Correct. It's the same, but it's a different terminology.
Okay.
Can?
Can.
Yeah, okay. Good. Very good question. For those who have gone through the inward outward mindset, then you understand the two book, how the same. It's similar. Okay, yeah. Any other question? Good question, William. Okay, this is where I want to talk about the fear of God, of Christ, of fear of God. Okay, the fear of God or fear of Christ, whichever. Now, here, always bear in mind, when we read, first we have to understand that English is very weak language. English is a very weak language. The fear here in English did not effectively bring out the original language of what is intended to mean about the fear of God. Fear of God is not to be scared of God. It's not like when I see a lion, about a hungry lion, and I'm very scared. I want to run for my life. No. That's why the fear of God is to be overwhelmed with wonder before the greatness of God and His love. It's like if you have a good a father who knows how to be, who's wise and who knows when to discipline, when to be gentle, and when to be loving. And sometimes a child, when you look at such a father, will be wondering, wow, my father don't know why. How come he can be so like that? Why he is so wise? Why he is so strong? Why he is so wonderful? Why? But he also scared. Inverted commas, fear. Because he knows that the father will punish you if you do the wrong thing, or rather discipline you out of love when you do the wrong thing. Also in wonder, in saying, wow, there is such a big gap between me and my father. And which usually makes the child goes, wow, my father is the hero, the Superman, which I am not. My father is the superhero, which I am not. And the child recognizes the gap between himself or herself and the father. This is what the fear of God means. Recognizing the power, recognizing the love, recognizing the wisdom, recognizing the greatness and the wonder and the mystery, recognizing all that and recognizing the gap between ourselves and God. With the feeling of admiration, mystery, wonder, and yet fearful. That's why you find him fearfully beautiful. Now, we need to recognize God like that. Then, think about it. If we recognize God like this, fearfully beautiful, wonderful, great, loving, and all that, will it be difficult for you to let go of the center of yourself and give it to God? Would it be difficult for you to be filled with the Spirit, that is to fill your mind and your heart on thinking about God and His principles and His love and His wonderful things and His creation? No, it wouldn't. That is the fear of God that we need to develop. The fear of God that comes with recognizing, discovering, recognizing, and understanding who God is and what kind of wonderful, powerful God we have. And if we are able to find that fear, that wonderful fear, then it becomes easy for us to find that power to let go of our self-centeredness. Because why? We now put God at the center. That's why until God has a proper place in my life, I will always be complaining that my spouse is not loving me well enough, not respecting me enough, not supporting me enough. But if I've got God at the center of my life, I'm not focused about whether my wife loves me enough. I would want to focus on loving my wife enough or loving my husband enough. I won't be concerned about whether my wife respected me enough or my husband respect me enough. I will only be focused on respecting my wife or respecting my husband enough. That's what this fear of God is about. And that's why the filled with the Spirit comes in. Because once we are filled with the Spirit, we are able to let go of the center. This is something, now, it doesn't just happen. Discovering, knowing, understanding, and loving God is a process. It's a relationship that takes time and energy and effort. That's why we need to work towards it, growing in the fear of God. Now, how do you grow in the fear of God if you don't spend time with God or with understanding God and His ways and His principles and His creation? You can't. That's why what fills your mind at the end of the day, what fills your mind and your heart. That's why I said from the beginning, to be filled with the Spirit is actually about what you are filling your heart and your mind with. If you spend enough time to fill your heart and mind with the things of God and with God, then eventually you'll be able to let go. You find, hey, God is so wonderful. It's okay. I can let go. I don't have to hold so tight anymore. And when I let go, I'm no longer the center. And when I'm no longer at the center, I can focus on other people because I'm no longer struggling to fulfill my universe as the center and the controller, because I'm no longer the controller. I already let go. So grow. Learn to grow. Now, this book talks about love. Now, you have to understand there's two forms of love. One form of love, the romance love, which the world spends so much time focusing on. What is romance love? Romance love is about how good I feel because of my attraction to the other person. How good I feel because what the other person can do for me. How good the other person make me feel. And when the person make me feel great, wow, I feel so in love. And the moment the other person don't make me feel great, I don't have that wonderful feeling, I'm no longer in love. And that's what's happening. Why a lot of couple feel love before marriage and after that don't feel love anymore. And they're wondering why. Because that's not the love we are talking about. It's not sacrificial love. We have talked about it in chapter 1. This is self-centered love. It's a love based on romantic feeling, the feeling that the other party make me feel. And especially, think about it, especially when we are self-centered and when we are struggling with our own universe and we are bearing the weight of it. And we know we have problems. And then this person comes into, and usually this person provides something that makes my universe better. So I want, wow, this person enter my universe, and then now my universe smells so good, feels so good. Right? It's about that person entering my universe and make me better. still withholding self-centered. That's why it's a self-centered love. It's a love based on self-centered at what the other person make my universe better. So you still want control. That's not the love we are talking about. That's why this is where we have to learn to let go. And now we focus on the other person. Now, the love, you see, self-centered love is feeling first. If I feel good, then I will act. Right? I will act in love. If the person don't make me feel good, then I say, oh, the person don't love me anymore. Right? So self-centered love or romantic love, love as a reciprocal. That means the other, I feel the love, then I reciprocate. I give back. No, that's not the love you're talking about from early chapter 1. Chapter 1, the secret to marriage is sacrificial love. Sacrificial love requires us to step out of our self-centeredness. And when we step out of our self-centeredness, now we're focusing on the other person, then we act in love first. And when we act in love, what's going to happen? Very likely, not necessarily, but if we love long enough, very, very likely, the other person is going to feel it and reciprocate. And when the person reciprocate, not you reciprocate, the person reciprocate, but you already act in love. You already initiated in love. The person reciprocate and now you feel love. So your feel love comes after your act of love. Self-centered love is I need to feel love in order to act in love. So romantic love, I feel so loved, then I act out of commitment. No, that's not what we are talking about. Why we do that? Very simple. We are merely practicing what God is doing. Last statement there in this slide, we love because He first loved us. How did He first love us? For God so loved the world. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. And because God loves us first by sending His Son. You see, did we love God before Jesus died? No. God sent His love first. Jesus died first. Then we discover, and gradually, if we understand and appreciate, now we feel love. And when we feel love and reciprocate in love, we love God back, God feel love. So same thing here. And now because of that, now we have already received God's love, so we now act in love. We practice what God does. Okay? And so this is the power of marriage. The power of marriage lies with the Holy Spirit, lies with what we allow to dwell in our heart and our mind more than anything else, because that's what's eventually going to control us. And if we dwell on what is of God first, we will be able to deal with the self-centeredness that is alive and controlling us. Because why? We recognize His love and we learn of His wonder. And this is a process. Don't expect to learn of His wonder when you haven't spent much time to consider His wonder. For me, I have come to know God when I was 21 years old. Now I'm 61 years old, 40 years. I'm still in the process of learning. 40 years. And I still remember the beginning. And now I look back, I begin to recognize the amount of time I have able to spend will affect how fast I'm able to grow. The amount of time and energy I spend on what I dwell in determines how fast I'm able to grow. So where are you investing your time, which is your life? Are you too busy? But let's be honest, like for all of you, I am so glad that you see this time every Monday night as important enough. And this will impact your life because this time will somehow influence the way you think, which will impact the way you behave. And since we're talking about marriage, will definitely impact the way you think about marriage and will definitely affect the way you will live out your marriage. Why? Because you invested every Monday at least 1.5 to 2 hours on it. Okay. Question. That's all from me for this chapter. That's the end of the chapter 2. Okay, no problem. Question maybe next week only can come up. But just in case any of you have question already while you are listening. If not, next week beginning we will do the same thing. Any question first before we go into chapter 3. Okay? Who's leading next week chapter? Who's next week's leader?
Next week is me. Next week is me.
Okay. Okay or not? You okay or not?
I think for this chapter very special lah. I think God also got lead me a bit lah. So I
Good.
think I got found few things that make me more clearer after I listen lah. Actually, my planning is like this lah. Next week I got video to play. I want you guys to listen and we will discuss on that lor. And then for today one, right? Actually from the video also got touch a bit lah. I mean, I feel I just want to share a bit lah for this chapter lah. I mean for the center part lah, like the self-centered part this chapter is talking about, right? I feel that if two relationships want to move further, I think both of them need to have a mutual what is it called? Yeah? Mutual center. So the mutual center shouldn't be you or your wife or your husband. No? Yeah, and I think the best one so far you guys can get one is put God as the center. I think is the best. It's better lah. And it's like both of you is going to the same direction, or at least one same direction. This is what I thought of lah. So I think can think of it and see lor. That's it lah. That's it. My short sharing for today only. For today lesson lah.
Good. Mm-hmm. To help everybody else, I have an illustration that can help explain that what January just share. A lot of people uses A, the alphabet, the capital letter A, to illustrate relationship. A, you notice got two legs, one on the right, one on the left, and they meet in the top. Okay, a lot of people uses that as an illustration. Each spouse, the husband or the wife, is on opposite leg. Now, opposite leg is at the bottom is very far apart. Now, if they want to get closer together, they have to climb up the slope of the A. Okay, and on top, at the peak is God. So the more they get closer to God, the more they get closer to each other. A lot of people uses this as illustration for marriage. And I think it's a very good illustration. Because only when they get closer to God are they able to discover their true self and to let go. And when they are able to let go, they can focus on the other side and learn to understand the other person. You see, you cannot understand yourself through your spouse. You can only understand yourself through God. Because your spouse also don't know you. You know yourself more than your spouse. But God knows you more than yourself. Because God created you. What you know about yourself is all muddled up. Not fully correct one. Only God got that correct version of you. So the only way for you to identify the correct version of you is to climb up closer to God and let God tell you who you are. And then once you're able to do that, you are able to let the other person discover your true you, which is why you get closer. And which also explains that in a relationship, if one doesn't climb, it's very tough. You can imagine one doesn't climb closer to God, the other person climb. It may lead to further apart, not closer together. Okay? Yeah. So, okay.
I think if you want to think more creative way instead of using A, right, you guys can actually consider using the house, the wood thing, the bumbong, you know, bumbong,
Yes.
rooftop, the shape. It's like actually you can use what Sir said just now. This is what I thought It's like both of you have is the both side of the bumbong with the rooftop. Both of you have to work hard. I mean, not say work hard Both of you have to sacrifice it to reach the top so that the house is complete close. You know, the house should be both sides work hard. Then the feeling of home will be safe, At least you can think this way also Instead
Very
of
good,
using
very
A
good.
also This is what I thought of
Very good.
That's it.
Good illustration. Yeah, a house also good because then it becomes a home for the children and for the family. Yeah.
Because I remember Sir say something What do you think of house? House should be the most comfortable place for our children to come back and be open instead of hiding themselves. I remember Sir say this one before. Right, so you say one, I don't know, you remember?
Yeah.
So
a long time ago.
I think if you use this illustration and you think about it, I think can be related, It's like this house is belong to you and your wife, like the Bible state is one place already, So if the rooftop one side only work hard and the other side no sacrifice also cannot The rooftop not balanced. When roof not balanced, the house is not the best place for our children to come back and be open because it's pecah already something like this. So this is what I thought of So just sharing.
Very good illustration. Good. Okay. Any others? 11:30. Sorry, we are half an hour late.
Got to
Yes,
go
Agnes.
already. I'm very tired already, sir.
Yeah. I know. I recognize. Already 11:30. Today a bit long. Trying to finish the chapter. Okay. Any last minute? Otherwise, we'll call it the night. Next week we will start with Q&A.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, QQ. Thank you, sir. Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
All right. Good night.